The mind is a servant if trained, but a master if ignored. That's the line that separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. You see, most people never learn how to control their mind. They wake up and let their emotions decide how the day goes. They allow distractions to lead. They let fear decide what they won't do. But here's the truth. You will never have control over your life until you learn how to control your thinking. You've got goals, you've got plans, but if your mind isn't under control, none of it holds. The world pulls at your attention every second. Your own doubts whisper at the worst times. And if you don't step in and take charge, you'll spend your life reacting instead of leading. This video is about learning how to take back that control. Not with fluff, not with hype, but with real, direct steps you can use to take command of your thinking, like you take command of your decisions, your time, your habits. You control your thoughts or they control you. It's that simple. And by the end of this, you'll be sharper, stronger, and more focused than ever. Let's begin. Number 1, tell your mind what you need, not what you feel. That's where your life starts to change. Most people are run by their feelings, and they don't even realize it. They wake up and wait to feel motivated. They go to work if they feel like it. They stay focused if they feel good that day. But here's the truth. Your feelings are not built to lead. They're built to follow. And if you let your feelings take the lead, your life will go in circles. What you need is not always what you feel. You might feel like staying in bed, but what you need is to get up and take control of your day. You might feel like scrolling through your phone, but what you need is to focus on what matters. You might feel discouraged, tired, lazy, or even worthless sometimes. But those are feelings. They are not facts. They're just temporary signals. They pass. What stays is your discipline, your choices, your direction. You have to sit your mind down and say, this is the new standard. This is what I do now. I don't wait until I feel like it. I decide what's right. I decide what I need, and I make myself do it. That's how you build real control. That's how you take ownership. We were never supposed to be controlled by every emotion that shows up. You're not a machine without power. You have the ability to direct your focus, to train your mind to obey what matters. But that doesn't happen by accident. It happens with practice, daily practice, hour by hour, moment by moment. The first thing you need to do is recognize the difference between what feels good and what's actually good for you. Many times, they don't line up. Junk food feels good, but it's not good for you. Avoiding a hard conversation might feel better in the moment, but it makes things worse long term. Skipping a workout might feel easy, but it weakens your willpower. If you live by what feels good, your life slowly breaks down. If you live by what's good for you, your life slowly levels up. That's the divide, and you must choose a side. Now, here's something most people avoid talking about: how difficult it actually is to break the cycle. It's not a motivational poster. It's a war inside your head. You'll hear voices in your mind saying, you can do it later, or you're too tired today, or what's the point? That's not the real you. That's the old you trying to survive. That's your weaker self trying to talk you out of your stronger self. And if you don't respond to it, it will win. You have to fight back with clarity. Tell your mind, this is what I need to do. This is who I'm becoming. I'm no longer someone who waits on emotions to get things done. That kind of inner talk, it's not fake, it's necessary. It's how you rewire the way you think. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets. Every day, your brain is listening to you. It's taking notes. If you keep telling yourself, I'm not in the mood, your brain will learn that mood matters more than action. But if you tell your brain, I do it whether I feel like it or not, you train it to take orders from you, not your moods. And the more consistent you are, the faster that switch happens. Some people say, that sounds too strict. No, it's called being in charge of your life. You're not supposed to float through your day hoping things go well. You're supposed to direct it. You're supposed to be intentional. Control doesn't mean you never feel tired or lazy or upset. It means those feelings don't get to make decisions. You do. Now, how do you make this practical? Simple. Start small. Wake up and decide the 3 things you need to do today. Not 10, not everything, just 3. Write them down. And no matter how you feel, complete them. The moment your mind starts making excuses, talk back to it. Don't argue with it. Command it. Tell yourself, I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care if it's uncomfortable. This is non-negotiable. That firmness trains your brain to respect you. Do it enough times, and the excuses start getting quieter. The laziness starts to lose its grip. The confusion starts to clear. You start becoming someone who can trust themselves to follow through, and that right there is what builds real confidence. Not hype videos, not just feeling good, but doing what needs to be done even when it's hard. You want to know how to feel better? Start doing better. Your emotions change when your actions change. People get stuck in their heads waiting for some magic spark to appear. It's not coming. You create the spark by doing the right things daily. And the first right thing is telling your mind what matters. Set the rules. Set the tone. This is also why you need routines. Not just because successful people have routines, but because your brain needs structure. If you don't give it structure, it will wander into weakness. Wake up at the same time. Have a set time to work. Take breaks on purpose. Go to sleep at the same time. These little anchors give you power over chaos. And when your day is clear, your mind becomes clear. And stop saying you can't help it. You can. You may not know how yet, but you can learn. Self-control is a skill. Nobody is born with it. We build it by making hard choices again and again until they become natural. The more you choose what you need over what you feel, the more your brain starts to work for you, not against you. This is not about being perfect. You will mess up. There will be days where you slip. That's not failure. That's part of the process. What matters is that you don't quit. You don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. Get back up. Remind yourself, I don't take orders from my emotions. I take orders from my values. That's power. That's maturity. You want real change? Start taking your thoughts seriously. Start listening to how you speak to yourself. And when you catch thoughts that lead you nowhere, challenge them. Don't just accept them. You are not every thought that enters your head. You are the one who decides which thoughts get to stay. And when you choose the right ones, your actions follow. And when your actions follow, your life changes. That's how you start to control your mind. And when you control your mind, you get your power back. You stop living like a victim of your feelings. You stop giving away your future to comfort. You stop waiting for motivation and start living with discipline. Tell your mind what you need every single day and mean it. That's where everything starts. Number 2, interrupt useless thinking the second it starts rising. That right there can change the course of your day. If you don't catch it early, it spreads, it multiplies. It drags you into thoughts you never needed to have in the first place. You sit there wondering why you feel tired, why your energy is low, why you lost focus. Most of the time, it starts with one thought that had no value, no solution, no purpose, but you didn't stop it. You entertained it, and it pulled you in. Every person has useless thoughts, doubts, regrets, old arguments, worries that lead nowhere, thoughts about what someone said last week, thoughts about what might go wrong tomorrow. These thoughts aren't helping you, they're not sharpening you, they're draining you without you realizing it. And if you don't build the habit of stopping them quickly, they take root. They start shaping how you speak, how you feel, how you treat people, how you handle the day. One bad thought left unchecked can wreck your whole mood. And your mood affects how you show up, so the cost is real. You have to get serious about what enters your mind. Most people live with mental noise all day and think it's normal. They believe every thought deserves attention just because it showed up. That's not true. Your brain is a machine. It fires off thoughts constantly, based on memories, fears, habits, and past emotion. You don't have to respond to all of it. You have to lead it. You have to treat your mind like a space that only useful thoughts get to stay in. If something useless enters, throw it out immediately. Don't explain it. Don't play with it. Don't analyze it for the next 3 hours. Just cut it off. This takes self-awareness. You have to pay attention to your inner dialogue. What are you saying to yourself when things get quiet? What kind of thoughts do you allow when nobody is watching you? Do you let your mind wander into negativity? Do you let it sit in self-pity? Do you let it replay old pain just to feel something? If you do, that's not a mistake, it's a habit. But you can break it. You just have to decide to stop letting useless thinking live rent-free in your head. It's not easy at first. You'll have a thought like, this always happens to me, or I'm just not good enough. And it feels familiar. You've been thinking that way for years. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. You can catch that thought and say, no, that doesn't help me. That doesn't move me forward. That one moment where you interrupt the pattern, that's where strength is built. That's how you take back control. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about rejecting lies. It's about stopping repetitive thoughts that serve no purpose. Some people say, but what if the thought is true? If it leads to a solution, keep it. If it leads to anxiety, self-hate, or paralysis, drop it. Truth is useful when it builds action, not when it destroys momentum. Interrupting useless thinking is a skill. Like anything else, you have to practice. The first step is to notice the pattern. Start asking yourself, is this thought useful right now? If it's not, cut it off. Not later, not after 5 minutes, right now. Get up, change your environment, say something out loud that breaks the flow. Even something simple like, nope, not doing this right now, that alone can reset your mind. There's nothing soft about this. This is mental discipline at its core. If you want to stay focused, if you want to stay strong, you cannot afford to let garbage thinking sit in your head all day. If someone came into your house and dumped trash in the living room, you wouldn't sit and watch. You'd throw it out. That's how fast you have to be with your thoughts. Don't entertain junk. Don't get comfortable with self-doubt. Don't replay things that you've already moved past. Useless thoughts feed hesitation. They feed indecision. They feed fear. And most of them are invisible to others, which makes them even more dangerous. You look calm on the outside, but inside your energy is bleeding because you didn't take the thoughts seriously. You didn't stop it early, and now it's shaping your decisions. Most people don't take responsibility for their thinking. They blame their mood, they blame their past, they blame other people, but you have more power than you think. You can't stop a thought from showing up, but you can decide what happens next. You can replace it, you can challenge it, you can shut it down. That's where control comes from. Not from perfection, but from ownership. You also have to remember this. Useless thoughts often disguise themselves as deep thinking. You sit there for an hour, processing something when really you're just overthinking. You're not solving, you're stewing. There's a difference. And when you do that, your brain gets tired, your clarity fades, your drive gets dull. If you want to be sharp, you have to keep your mind clean. You have to filter your thoughts the way you filter your food, your schedule, your circle. Not everything deserves space. Start doing this throughout your day. When you're working and a random memory distracts you, pause and say, that's not useful right now. When you're about to speak and a self-doubt pops up, say, that's not true. I've done harder things than this. When you're alone and a spiral of worry begins, say, no, I'm not going down that road today. That's how you keep your edge. That's how you build mental sharpness. And don't confuse this with being positive all the time. This isn't about smiling through pain. This is about being strategic. You don't have time to waste on loops that don't lead to progress. You need your energy focused. You need your thoughts working for you, not against you. One of the best ways to train this habit is by writing, not journaling your emotions for 2 hours, but getting real with yourself on paper. Write down the top 5 useless thoughts that show up often. Name them, call them out. Then write a response to each one. Something strong, something grounded. That way, when those thoughts show up, you're ready. You don't have to invent a defense on the spot. You already built it. Your mind wants direction. It wants leadership. If you don't give it any, it will follow the loudest voice inside. And usually that's fear, insecurity, or the past. You can't afford that anymore. You've got goals. You've got people depending on you. You've got a future that doesn't have space for useless thinking. So next time a thought comes up that sounds like, what if I fail? Or they probably think I'm not good enough, or I should have done things differently. Stop it. Interrupt it. Replace it with action. Replace it with something true, something clear, something that builds momentum. Say, I can't control what they think, but I can control what I do right now. Say, the past is over. I'm in charge now. Speak with power, not hype, truth. That's how real people win. They don't wait for perfect thoughts. They don't hope for motivation. They get ruthless about what they allow in their mind. And you can do the same. Not next week. Today, right now. The next thought that shows up, check it. Ask yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? If it's helping, keep it. If it's not, kill it quick. That's the habit. That's the edge. That's how you become someone who controls their mind, not just once, but every single day. Number 3, direct your brain like a tool, not a boss. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts you'll ever need. If you want to take back your power, your brain is not supposed to lead your life. It's supposed to help you build it. It's there to serve you, not control you. But most people never learn this. They let their brain decide what kind of day they'll have, what actions they'll take, what limits they'll live under. And when you treat your brain like the boss, it will limit you every time. It will give you reasons to delay. It will remind you of everything that could go wrong. It will talk you out of discomfort. It will beg you to stay safe and small, because that's its job, to protect, not to grow. Your job is to lead it like a tool, not a master. You're the one who sets the goals. You're the one who says what matters. You're the one who decides what gets done and when. Your brain is there to follow those orders. It's there to carry out tasks. It's there to calculate, to remember, to process, to support, not to dictate the pace of your life. If you wait for your brain to feel ready or certain or clear, you'll be waiting a long time. There's nothing wrong with your brain. The problem is how you use it. You've been listening to it as if it knows what's best for you, but it only knows what's familiar. It only knows what's safe, and anything outside of that, it resists. That's not a personal flaw. That's how it's wired. So stop asking it for permission to move forward. Use it like you'd use any tool, with a plan, with intention, with control. Start your day with this in mind. Don't wake up and check your thoughts to decide how to feel. Wake up and give your brain a task. Give it something to work on. Be the one in charge. You say, today we focus. Today we move. Today we follow through. You don't let your brain wander aimlessly and then wonder why you feel lost by the afternoon. That's not direction. That's drift. And people who drift never build anything strong. Your brain responds to clarity. The more direct you are with what needs to be done, the faster it learns to serve you. But if you're vague, if you keep changing your mind, if you let fear drive your instructions, your brain will mirror that. It will give you confusion. It will recycle doubts. It will run in circles. So speak clearly to it. Write down what matters. Make decisions fast. Don't ask your brain for its opinion. Tell it what to focus on. When your brain starts pushing back, and it will, you don't argue. You override it. You don't need a debate with your thoughts every morning. You don't have to get stuck in mental traffic. That's a trap. The more you think about doing something, the less likely you are to do it. Because the brain will find every angle, every risk, every tiny excuse to stall. That's why you move before you feel ready. That's why you act before you overthink. Action clears up what thinking complicates. The tool follows the user. That's the order. And don't confuse this with ignoring your thoughts. You don't ignore them, you manage them. You look at what your brain is telling you, and you decide if it's helpful. If it is, you use it. If it's not, you let it go. That's discipline. That's leadership. You're not a slave to your mind. You're the one who drives it. You're the one who says, this is what we're doing now. Not tomorrow. Not when the fear fades. Now that mindset changes everything. Because now your brain becomes your assistant, not your enemy. It works for you. It follows your mission. You give it problems to solve instead of problems to invent. You say, figure out how to get this done, instead of tell me why this is too hard. And it will. Your brain is brilliant. It's powerful, but it needs direction. Without direction, it defaults to comfort. It defaults to staying right where you are. That's not growth. That's decay. You also have to stay consistent. If you give your brain mixed signals, it won't trust you. If you keep changing your mind every time you feel fear or discomfort, it learns that your instructions are optional. So the next time you try to take charge, it fights you. That's why consistency matters. Even if you're tired, even if you're unsure, even if the plan isn't perfect, you still show up. You still give your brain something to do. You still act like someone who leads. You wouldn't hand your phone to a child and expect productivity. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and rearrange everything. But people do this with their brain every single day. They let any thought take over. They let any emotion rearrange their direction. And then they wonder why life feels out of control. It's because there's no filter, no command, no authority over the machine. You don't need to be harsh with yourself. You need to be intentional. You need to start noticing when your brain is leading you into loops, distractions, fear or hesitation, and you need to pull it back. You need to say, that's not where we're going right now. Here's the task. Focus on it, over and over. Not once, not when it's convenient. Every day. You also have to be careful what you feed your brain. Just like any tool, it works with what you give it. If you fill it with garbage, mindless content, drama, negativity, distractions, it will produce garbage thoughts. But if you feed it with clarity, purpose, goals, structure, it will sharpen, it will adapt, it will become a powerful partner in your life. But you have to make the choice. Don't let your brain become a passive voice in your life. Use it to write, to think, to solve, to plan. Give it challenges that build your future, not worries that break your focus. When you feel tired, remind it of the mission. When it wants to quit, remind it who's in charge. When it starts complaining, replace the complaint with a command. Your brain is not your boss. It doesn't decide how the day goes. It doesn't run your schedule. It doesn't choose your direction. You do. And the moment you fully accept that, the chaos starts to settle. The hesitation gets weaker. The doubt starts to fade, not because it disappears, but because it no longer has power. Real strength is not in how perfect your thoughts are. It's in how well you direct them. Real control is not about having the right mindset every minute. It's about catching the wrong one before it takes over. You don't have to be fearless. You have to be firm. And firm people don't follow their brain's random input. They give it structure. They give it work. That's how you move forward. Not with hype, not with waiting for a magical day, where everything feels easy. You move forward by using the tool you already have, and leading it with clarity. Your brain will resist at first. It will complain. It will try to argue. But with time it adapts. It gets used to new instructions. And eventually, it learns to follow your lead, quickly, quietly, without resistance. That's what it means to direct your brain like a tool. You use it with purpose. You command it with strength. You train it with consistency. And you build a life that no longer runs on fear, doubt, or hesitation, but on direction, control, and choice. That's real power. That's how you take back your mind. And when you take back your mind, you take back your future. Number 4, strip emotion from decisions. When it clouds your judgment. When your mind is flooded with emotion, your clarity fades. You stop seeing the situation for what it is and start reacting to how it makes you feel. That's where problems begin. One emotional decision, made in a moment of pressure or frustration or excitement, can lead to months or even years of regret. That's why you need to train yourself to pause, think, and separate emotion from logic before you make important choices. We live in a world where reacting quickly is glorified. People say trust your gut or go with what feels right. That might work for some things, but not when the stakes are high. Not when your future is on the line. Not when one bad move could set you back. When your judgment is cloudy, when you're overwhelmed or angry or fearful, that is not the time to decide. That is the time to stop and wait until the emotion settles and your thinking becomes clear again. You've probably experienced moments where you said or did something because it felt right at the time, but it ended up being the wrong move. Maybe you walked away from an opportunity because it made you nervous. Maybe you stayed in a situation too long because your feelings told you it would get better. Maybe you reacted in a conversation and damaged trust. These aren't accidents. They're the outcome of letting emotions run the show. It's not that emotion is the enemy. Emotion is part of being human. You're not supposed to feel nothing, but you are responsible for knowing when emotion is helping you and when it's getting in your way. That line matters. There are moments when your emotions can guide you. They can alert you to danger. They can remind you what matters to you. But when you feel overwhelmed, when your thoughts are spinning, when your heartbeat picks up and your breathing shortens, that's when emotion starts to blur your ability to think straight. At that moment, the goal is not to make a decision. The goal is to protect your judgment. That means stepping back. That means delaying action. That means being strong enough to say, I'm not thinking clearly right now and I know it. That takes awareness. It takes discipline. But that discipline will save you from so much pain down the road. Sometimes the smartest move you can make is to do nothing until your head clears. That's not weakness. That's maturity. Strong people don't rush choices just to feel in control. They pause. They observe. They calm themselves. And once their mind is steady, they decide. That's the difference between reacting emotionally and responding wisely. You will be tested in life. People will frustrate you. Circumstances will shake you. Pressure will build. But your job is to lead yourself, and leadership starts with self-control. Can you stay centered when things around you are not? Can you hold back when your emotions are screaming at you to act now? Can you wait 5 minutes instead of making a lifetime decision in a 5-second wave of emotion? You build this by practicing. Start with the small stuff. The next time someone says something that triggers you, notice what's happening inside your body. Don't react right away. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this the moment to speak or the moment to hold back? That short pause can prevent a fight, save a relationship, or protect your peace. Practice this until it becomes natural. Because the better you get at catching yourself in the moment, the less damage you do to your own future. You also need to watch out for excitement, not just the negative emotions. Sometimes people make just as many mistakes when they're overly excited as they do when they're angry or sad. They commit to things too quickly. They make promises they can't keep. They buy things they don't need. Emotion, positive or negative, can cloud your judgment if you don't slow down. One question you can always ask yourself in emotional moments: if I felt calm right now, what would I choose? That separates the feeling from the decision. That gives you a clearer view. Another question is, will I still agree with this decision tomorrow? That pushes you out of the current moment and into a longer perspective. If the answer is no, that's your sign to wait. Clarity doesn't come from emotional high points. It comes from stillness, from space, from reflection. You have to create that space for yourself. Step outside, sit in silence, go for a walk, write things down. Whatever helps you reconnect to your center, because when you're centered, your decisions become stronger. And stop believing the lie that you'll miss your chance if you don't decide right now. Real opportunities don't vanish the second you pause. If something can't wait for you to think clearly, it probably wasn't right for you. The people who rush you are usually the ones who benefit from your lack of clarity. Protect your ability to think. Your life is the sum of your decisions. Every choice you make shapes your future. So treat your decisions with the respect they deserve. Don't gamble your life on feelings that shift with your mood. Build a system for thinking. When something triggers you, say, I'm going to take a moment before I respond. When something excites you, say, I'll sleep on it and revisit it with a clear head. These small habits, repeated over time, create better outcomes. People who master this are calm in chaos. They don't get rattled easily. They're hard to manipulate because they don't jump at every emotion. They stay grounded. That kind of stability is rare, and it's powerful. It makes you trustworthy. It makes you consistent, and it helps you avoid regret. You also need to stay honest with yourself. If you keep making emotional decisions and pretending they're logical, you'll keep repeating patterns that hurt you. Own it. Say that choice came from fear, or I let anger take over. That level of honesty is uncomfortable, but it's the starting point of growth. And growth always begins with truth. This mindset applies in every area of life. Relationships, work, health, goals, finances, everywhere. You want to leave that job? Don't decide after a bad day. Wait until you've looked at it from all angles. You want to end a relationship? Don't decide in the middle of a fight. Wait until your heart settles. You want to take a risk? Don't rush it because you're on an emotional high. Take time to evaluate it without pressure. That's how you move forward with confidence, not regret. This is not easy, but it's necessary. And once you learn it, you don't just make better decisions. You start to trust yourself more, because you know your choices aren't based on emotion. They're based on reason, on clarity, on purpose. That trust builds confidence, and confidence gives you strength in moments where most people fall apart. Strip emotion when it clouds your thinking. Keep your feelings, but don't let them run your life. Respect your future enough to pause when your mind is fogged by emotion. The person you become depends on it. The life you build is shaped by it. One calm decision at a time, one moment of clarity at a time. That's how it's done. Number 5. Stop letting your mood decide how your day goes. If you wake up and check your mood before deciding how to live, you've already given up control. That's what most people do. They open their eyes and wait to see how they feel. And based on that feeling, they choose how much effort to give, how they treat people, and whether or not they follow through on what matters. But your mood isn't built to guide you. It changes too often. It's affected by sleep, food, stress, conversations, the weather, even a random thought. It's not reliable enough to set the tone for your day. If you allow it to lead, you'll find yourself stuck in inconsistency, never building the life you're capable of. You have to make a shift in your thinking. Your mood is not the authority. It's not the decision maker. It's just information, sometimes helpful, sometimes not. But it doesn't get to dictate your direction. If you only show up when you feel good, you won't show up very often. If you only work when you're excited, your results will be unstable. The strongest people, the ones who stay on track, are not powered by mood. They're powered by standards. They decide in advance how they'll live, regardless of how they feel when the day begins. This is something you train, not something you're born with. At first, it's difficult. You'll hear your mind say, I'm not in the mood for this, and everything in your body will agree. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is not about pushing yourself all day long without rest. It's about making choices based on values instead of feelings. It's about standing up to your own moods and saying, I hear you, but you're not in charge today. Your mood wants comfort. It wants ease. It wants to avoid effort. But your purpose is not built in comfort. It's built through consistency. There's nothing wrong with having a bad mood. It happens. What matters is what you do with it. If you let it take over, your day gets weaker. If you let it sit in the background while you still do what needs to be done, you grow stronger. That's how you build real mental power. Not by waiting for motivation, but by creating movement, no matter how you feel. You might not be in the mood to work out, but you work out anyway. You might not feel like having that tough conversation, but you have it anyway. You might want to stay quiet and isolate, but you show up anyway, because you don't live by moods. You live by mission, and your mission doesn't wait for you to feel perfect. People make the mistake of thinking that if something feels difficult, it must be wrong. That's not true. Most good things begin with resistance. Most progress starts with some discomfort. If you back away every time the mood isn't right, you'll keep resetting your progress. You'll start, stop, start again, and wonder why nothing sticks. It's because you let feelings decide what discipline should control. You can be tired and still productive. You can feel off and still act with purpose. You can be in a low mood and still keep your promises to yourself. That's what separates those who build a life from those who just wish for one. Not better moods, but better choices. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It means you don't worship them. It means you respect how you feel without giving it permission to block your actions. You acknowledge the mood, but you don't serve it. You serve the plan, the vision, the standard you set for yourself when your head was clear and your energy was right. Every morning you have two options. Let your mood take over or take charge of your mood. One of them leads to excuses. The other leads to progress. One of them keeps you reactive. The other keeps you intentional. The choice seems small, but it's not. It compounds. One day where you lead yourself turns into a week. A week turns into a month. A month turns into momentum. That's how results are built. Not in leaps, but in daily decisions where you choose discipline over emotion. You want to change your life. Stop asking your mood for permission. Stop negotiating with how you feel. Start setting clear intentions. Start telling yourself, this is what I do, no matter what shows up emotionally. That kind of mindset makes you unstoppable, because most people quit when their mood shifts. But you won't. You'll keep showing up, and the world will notice. People trust consistency. They follow people who are stable, and you can't be stable if your behavior depends on how you feel moment to moment. This also applies to how you treat others. If you're only kind when you're in a good mood, your relationships suffer. If you're only patient when things go your way, your leadership suffers. If you're only focused when life feels perfect, your work suffers. So don't let your mood infect everything around you. Catch it, address it, manage it, but don't let it run wild. You're not a victim of emotion. You're the one who decides what kind of day you're going to have. It helps to create rituals that reset your mood. Movement, music, breathing, silence, journaling. Whatever helps you get centered, use it. Don't wait for your mood to shift naturally. Take action to shift it yourself. That's power. Waiting is passive. Leading is active. Be the one who sets the tone for your day. Don't hope it feels right. Make it right. Even the most successful people feel off. But the difference is, they don't give that feeling control. They've trained themselves to move anyway. That's what makes them successful. Not perfect thoughts, but a refusal to be held hostage by moods. They act from commitment, not convenience. And that's available to you right now. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to feel amazing. You just need to stop giving your mood authority over your actions. That's a decision you make. And once you make it, you start gaining traction. You stop wasting time waiting for perfect energy. You stop letting emotions hijack your goals. You start owning your day, not surviving it. You don't rise by accident. You rise by refusing to be controlled by your most temporary states. Feel what you feel, but lead anyway. That's the path. That's the standard. That's how you take your life from mood-driven chaos to discipline-driven results. One decision, one morning, one action at a time. Number 6. Command your attention like your life depends on it, because in truth, it does. Where your attention goes, your life follows. What you focus on shapes what you experience. And if you let your attention wander all day, your life will feel scattered, overwhelmed, and out of your hands. Most people don't lose their potential because of lack of skill. They lose it because they never learned how to direct their focus. Their mind is always somewhere else, on a screen, in a worry, chasing something that doesn't matter. They wake up with a whole day in front of them and give it away, one distraction at a time. If you can't control your attention, you can't control your choices. And if you can't control your choices, you can't control your results. It's that simple. Attention is the front door to your habits. It's the beginning of every pattern you live. You can't build a disciplined life without learning how to pull your attention away from the noise and put it on what matters. The world doesn't care about your goals. It cares about keeping you hooked. You have to care more. You have to care enough to say, no, I'm not giving my time to things that don't move me forward. And you can't fake this. You can't pretend to be focused while keeping a dozen tabs open in your mind. You can't keep checking your phone and still say you're present. Your brain knows when your attention is split. And when your attention is split, your energy is weak. Half focus produces half effort. Half effort builds half results. And that's how people stay stuck. They think they're doing enough, but they're not really all in. They're just dipping their toe into their potential while their attention is somewhere else entirely. You need to reclaim that. You need to start treating your attention like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. It's not your time. It's not your money. It's your attention. That's what drives everything. The ability to lock in on one thing, to shut out the noise, to stay with it when your brain wants to run. That's what separates people who rise from people who stay average. Not talent, not luck. Focus. Every time you break your focus, there's a cost. You lose time ramping back up. You lose clarity. You lose energy. You might not see the cost right away, but it adds up. And over time, it turns into lost progress. You were supposed to get better. You were supposed to build something, but you couldn't stay locked in long enough to make it real. Commanding your attention doesn't mean being perfect. It means being aware. It means noticing when your mind drifts and bringing it back without excuse. You can't afford to let your focus be random. You can't let it be decided by whatever's loudest in the moment. You set the target. You say, "This is what I'm doing now," and then you stay there. No second screen, no side thoughts, just full engagement. This is not a motivational trick. This is a survival skill. In a world filled with distractions designed to pull you in, the person who can hold their attention is the person who wins, because they finish. They grow. They follow through. Most people never get to see what they're capable of because they don't stay with anything long enough to find out. When you sit down to do something important, treat it like a contract with yourself. You don't leave until it's done. You don't let yourself wander because it's only a few minutes. Those minutes stack, and those stacks become your results. You don't rise based on how good your intentions were. You rise based on how well you manage your focus. You need structure. Not just goals, but specific blocks of time where nothing gets in. No distractions, no scrolling, no side conversations, just deep work. That's how your mind gets sharper. That's how your standards rise. You show your brain, this is serious, and eventually, your brain learns to respond. It gets stronger. It stops needing constant stimulation. It stops chasing every impulse. It learns to work under your direction. But this only happens with repetition. One focused hour won't change your life. One focused week won't change your identity. You need consistency. You need to train yourself to return to focus again and again until it becomes your normal state. That's how you become powerful. Not just productive, powerful. Because now you're not pulled around by everything around you. You lead yourself. This also applies to conversations, to relationships, to moments that matter. If you're there, be there. If you're listening, listen. If you're working, work. Don't live your whole life in half attention. It robs you of joy, connection, and excellence. Be where you are. Lock in. Give your full attention to one thing at a time, and watch how your impact multiplies. There's always going to be noise. Always something to check. Always something to react to. But you don't need to respond to all of it. You don't need to stay reachable every second. Not if it costs you the life you're trying to build. Set boundaries. Build routines. Shut down distractions before they pull you in. You are not missing out. You are protecting your focus. And that's how you stay in control. People will say, "But it's hard." Of course it's hard. That's the point. Focus is rare. Most people never train it. Most people accept their wandering mind as normal. But you don't have to. You can rise above that. You can say, "I've had enough of being scattered." You can take ownership of your attention and choose to live with direction. It's not about being perfect. You'll still drift. You'll still get distracted. But you catch it sooner. You return faster. And each time you return, you build the muscle. You build the ability to stay with things longer, deeper, better, and that changes everything. You want to feel powerful. Start controlling what you give your attention to. You want to feel confident. Start completing what you start. You want to feel clear. Stop letting your brain be flooded with meaningless input. You don't need more information. You need more focus. Command your attention like your life depends on it. Because everything that matters in your life will be built on your ability to stay focused on what counts and shut out what doesn't. That's not just strategy. That's survival in a distracted world. You either take control of your attention, or your attention gets taken from you. There is no neutral. There is no middle ground. So decide now. No more drifting. No more excuses. No more wasting hours on things that don't push your life forward. Take back your mind. Take back your energy. Command your attention, and the rest of your life will follow. Number 7. Confront weak thoughts instead of running from them. That's what changes your mindset from fragile to strong. Most people avoid their weak thoughts. They push them down. They distract themselves. They bury them under noise, comfort, or constant motion. But what you avoid doesn't disappear. It grows in the background. It influences how you see yourself, how you speak, how you act, and how you quit before you've even started. Weak thoughts don't just stay inside your head quietly. They leak into your life. They shape your standards. And if you keep running from them, they keep running you. You've had them. The voice that says you're not good enough. The one that says it's too late. The one that whispers, you always mess things up. It doesn't scream, it lingers. And if you don't face it directly, it becomes a quiet rule in the background of your life. You don't take certain chances because of it. You settle for less because of it. You hold back from speaking up, from pushing forward, from believing bigger. And it all started because you didn't stop and confront that thought when it showed up. The human mind creates stories. And when you're young, those stories come from pain, rejection, disappointment. If you're not careful, you grow older. But you carry the same stories forward, and they get more clever. They sound more reasonable. Maybe I'm just not that kind of person. Maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I should just play it safe. But if you strip those words down, you'll see the truth. It's fear dressed up as logic. You'll never change your life if you keep hiding from the very thoughts that are keeping you small. Strength is not the absence of weakness. Strength is looking weakness in the face and refusing to run. You say, I hear you, but I'm not living by you anymore. That's power. That's the first step to owning your mind. This is not about pretending to be strong. It's not about saying I'm fine while everything inside you is screaming. It's about being honest. It's about stopping long enough to say, what am I really believing here? Where did that come from? And is it actually true? Because most of the thoughts that limit us aren't even based on reality. They're old. They're outdated. They're left over from a time when we didn't know any better. But if you don't go back and challenge them, they stay with you for life. You can't fix what you won't face. If a thought tells you you're not capable, sit with it. Don't run. Ask yourself why it's there. What evidence is it based on? And more importantly, is that evidence even relevant anymore? You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You've grown. You've seen more. You've survived things you thought you couldn't handle. But if you never update your thoughts, your mindset stays stuck in the past, and your potential never gets a chance to lead. You have to understand this: weak thoughts are not who you are. They're not your identity. They're just patterns. And every pattern can be broken. But first, it has to be seen. That's why awareness is so important. If you don't become aware of the beliefs driving your behavior, you'll keep repeating cycles and blaming your circumstances. There's no growth in hiding. There's no progress in pretending. You have to turn and face the thoughts that say you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. And you have to speak back to them with truth. Not hype, not fake positivity. Truth. Something grounded. Something real. You remind yourself of what you've done. You remind yourself of the progress you've made. You remind yourself that nobody's coming to save you. So you better start defending your mind like your life depends on it. This is where real change starts. Not in books, not in videos, not in routines. It starts in those moments where you catch yourself thinking small and you stop it. You don't let it slide. You interrupt it. You say, that's not me anymore. I'm not thinking like that today. That kind of self-talk builds muscle. It builds control. And the more you do it, the faster you take control back from the noise. Some people think ignoring weak thoughts makes them go away. It doesn't. It makes them sneakier. They hide behind sarcasm, behind laziness, behind fake confidence. You have to get direct. You have to bring those thoughts into the light and expose them. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Don't hide from them. The more you see them clearly, the less power they have over you. The problem isn't that you have weak thoughts. Everyone does. The problem is that most people treat those thoughts like truth. They obey them. They let them decide how far they'll go. And that's how potential gets wasted. Not because it wasn't there, but because it was never protected. Start confronting the thought that says you're always behind. Who said that? According to what timeline? Who are you comparing yourself to? Is it even real? Challenge it. What about the thought that says you're too quiet, too different, too broken? Break that down. Where did that belief come from? Was it something someone said years ago? Was it one moment that got burned into your memory? And why are you still carrying? You can't build a strong life on a weak mental foundation. And a weak mental foundation always comes from unchallenged thinking. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't just accept every thought that shows up. You ask questions, you examine, you test it, and if it doesn't help you, you replace it. You say, this thought is trying to stop me. What's the opposite of it? And then you live from the opposite. You start acting as if you already know that thought is false. You do the thing it's trying to scare you away from. And once you act in the face of a weak thought, it starts to break down. That's how you shrink it. Not with more thinking, but with action. Truth is, the more you confront your weak thoughts, the stronger your mindset becomes. Not because the thoughts stop showing up, but because they stop winning. You get faster. You get sharper. You stop giving your mental energy to nonsense. And now you've got space to grow. You've got space to think clearly, to build, to move forward. Weak thoughts thrive in silence. In your silence. So speak up. Speak the truth to yourself. Over and over. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You're just one decision away from taking your mind back. And that starts the moment you stop running and start confronting. One thought at a time. One truth at a time. One bold step forward. Even when your mind tries to hold you back. That's the beginning of a stronger you. Number 8. Make yourself think long-term even when it hurts. Because the truth is, the pain of discipline is always smaller than the pain of regret. But most people don't think that way. Most people live in the now. Not because it's wise, but because it's easier. They want comfort now. They want results now. They want to avoid discomfort now. And in chasing that temporary relief, they trade away everything they actually want long-term. They give up growth, health, peace, money, trust, time, all for the feeling that feels right in the moment. And that's how you lose. Not all at once, but little by little, by refusing to think beyond today when it counts the most. When life gets hard, the mind wants relief. It wants escape. And in those moments, long-term thinking feels like punishment. It feels unfair. You know what you should do, but you don't feel like doing it. That's where most people stop. That's where they say, I'll get back to it tomorrow. And slowly, they drift. Because they never trained their mind to push past the moment. They never practiced saying, this feels hard now, but I know why I'm doing it. That one sentence, said in pain, said when it's inconvenient, said when everything inside you wants to quit, that sentence will save your future. You have to get used to choosing what lasts instead of what feels good. And that means you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable now for the sake of something better later. That doesn't come naturally. It comes from building the habit of seeing beyond the moment. You train yourself to zoom out. You ask, what's this decision going to look like in 6 months? In 1 year, will I be proud of this? Will this move me closer or pull me away from where I say I want to go? The hardest part about long-term thinking is it doesn't pay you right away. You invest energy, time, effort, and sometimes it feels like nothing is changing. You don't see the reward yet. You don't get applause. And your brain starts to ask, why am I even doing this? That's the moment where you have to step in and remind yourself of the bigger picture. You don't do it for the quick hit. You do it because you're building something that lasts. Most people quit, not because they can't keep going, but because they can't see far enough. Their vision is too short. They want long-term results with short-term emotions. That doesn't work. You can't think about your future only when it's easy. You have to think about your future most when it's hardest. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel like giving up. That's when you lock in. That's when you push past what feels good and lean into what's right. Long-term thinking hurts because it forces you to say no to what's easy. It demands sacrifice. It makes you choose between now and next. But if you train your mind to get comfortable being uncomfortable, you gain an edge. Because now you're not living for validation. You're not chasing quick relief. You're grounded in something deeper. You know what you're building, and you're willing to pay the price for it. It's not about being perfect. It's about being committed. You'll slip. You'll get impatient. You'll want to give in. But you catch yourself. You pause. You take a breath and ask, is this decision going to make me stronger, smarter, more stable? Or am I just trying to escape discomfort? That level of honesty is how you break through patterns. That's how you stop repeating the same mistakes that keep pulling you back. Start making decisions with your future self in mind. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. If you give up today, you make it easier to give up tomorrow. But if you push through today, even just a little, you make it easier to push again tomorrow. It stacks. The small wins add up. And over time, you become someone who doesn't quit just because something hurts. You become someone who sees the pain and still chooses what's right. Pain is part of the process. Not all pain is bad. Some pain is progress. Some pain is growth. Some pain is the price you pay to break away from mediocrity. You don't run from that kind of pain. You lean into it. You say, this is what it takes. This is the cost. And I'm willing to pay it. Because the other option is settling. The other option is looking back a year from now and realizing you traded your future for 5 minutes of comfort. You have to make your future more important than your feelings. Feelings come and go, but the consequences of your decisions last. That's why long-term thinking isn't just smart. It's survival. It's the only way to build something that holds up over time. Anyone can be excited for a week. Anyone can show up when things are going well. But it takes character to show up when your emotions don't cooperate. It takes character to stick with the process when the results are still far away. The real test of growth is whether or not you can lead yourself through moments that don't give you what you want right away. Can you keep showing up? Can you stay disciplined? Can you stay locked in on a vision that hasn't fully materialized yet? Most people can't. They get discouraged. They slow down. They stop putting in the work. Not because the goal wasn't worth it, but because the weight made them weak. Don't let that be you. If the goal is meaningful, if the life you want to build is real, then it's worth every ounce of discomfort you face today. It's worth the hard choices. It's worth the mental battles. It's worth walking away from distractions. It's worth saying no when everyone else says yes. Because you're not living for right now. You're living for something bigger, something better, something stronger than impulse. And the people around you, they'll notice, they'll see that you don't get thrown off by temporary emotions. They'll see that you make decisions based on where you're going, not where you are. That kind of consistency earns respect. That kind of thinking builds momentum. And that momentum becomes the foundation of a powerful, focused, and meaningful life. Long-term thinking isn't about delay. It's about direction. It's about living with intention. It's about not getting caught in short-term reactions. It's about stepping back, zooming out, and asking, what matters most right now for where I'm heading? That one question can pull you out of doubt, confusion, fear, and back into clarity. There will always be moments where the present hurts. That's real. But pain doesn't last. The discipline you build through it does. The mindset you sharpen during it stays with you. The wisdom you earn from staying committed becomes your advantage. So the next time your emotions try to pull you away from what you know is right, remind yourself who you're doing this for. Not just the version of you today, but the version of you 5 years from now. The one who's stronger, wiser, more fulfilled. That version needs you to think long term, especially when it hurts. That's how you become someone you respect. That's how you stop repeating the past. That's how you take full control of your life. One choice at a time, one uncomfortable decision at a time. That's the price, and it's worth paying. Number 9, reject every thought that makes you feel powerless. Because the moment you accept it, even once, you start to live like it's true. And once you start living like it's true, your actions follow. Your energy drops, your confidence shrinks, and you become smaller in your own life. That's how it starts, quietly. One thought that says, you can't change this. One voice that whispers, this is just the way things are. You don't argue with it. You don't examine it. You accept it. And when you accept it, even silently, you give it permission to guide your choices. And from that point on, you start pulling back without knowing it. You avoid risk. You second guess yourself. You talk yourself out of the very changes that could fix everything. Powerless thoughts are dangerous because they sound reasonable. They sound like facts, but they're lies. They're limits wrapped in logic. They'll say things like, I've always been like this, or this is just who I am, or I've tried before and it didn't work. That's not truth. That's defeat disguised as realism. And if you're not alert, you start building your life around these beliefs. You lower your expectations. You shrink your dreams. You tolerate problems that could be solved. You wait for something to change instead of realizing that you can change. Powerless thinking doesn't scream. It doesn't shout. It sits quietly in the background and influences how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you handle setbacks, how you deal with discomfort. And the worst part is, most people don't even notice it. They live with it every day. They say, this is just the way my mind works, without ever realizing that their mindset has been hijacked by fear, doubt, and false beliefs. If you want to take control of your mind, this is where you start. You stop agreeing with thoughts that strip you of your ability to act, to improve, to push forward. You stop making room for inner dialogue that says you're not enough. You stop entertaining opinions from your past that no longer belong in your future. Because every time you let those thoughts sit, they grow roots. And the deeper those roots go, the harder it becomes to see yourself clearly. You have to be ruthless about this. You can't be casual with powerless thinking. You have to shut it down the second it shows up. Not tomorrow, not after you've thought about it. The moment it enters, you say, no, that's not me. That's not how I think. That doesn't help me. You don't give it time to settle in. You replace it with something stronger, not something motivational, something grounded, something real. You say, I've handled worse. You say, I'm in control. You say, I don't have to believe that. You say it out loud if you need to. You speak like someone who protects their mind, because you understand how powerful your thoughts are. This doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means standing in truth. The truth is, you've overcome things before. The truth is, you can think clearly, even when things get messy. The truth is, your past doesn't have to dictate your future. But if you don't protect that truth, the lies will push it out, and you'll start feeling like a victim of your own thinking. You don't need to fix every problem in your life to feel powerful. You just need to stop agreeing with the thoughts that convince you you're helpless. The second you believe you can't do something, you cut off every action that could prove otherwise. And that's how people stay stuck. Not because they don't have potential, but because they stopped believing it mattered. You want to feel strong? Start by acting strong, even in small ways. Speak with more certainty. Move with more purpose. Make decisions quicker. Stop waiting until you feel confident to start doing what you know is right. The action creates the belief, not the other way around. People wait for their thoughts to change before they act, but it works in reverse. You act, and your thoughts follow your lead. Every time you let a powerless thought run your day, you reinforce weakness. Every time you challenge it and move forward anyway, you build strength. It's a habit, a muscle. And the more you train it, the more natural it becomes. You start catching negative thoughts faster. You stop letting fear drag on for hours. You recognize self-doubt as noise, not reality. That shift in awareness is what makes the difference. Not because you suddenly have a perfect mindset, but because you finally stop letting the wrong thoughts run the show. You don't owe every thought your attention. Some thoughts are just leftovers. Leftovers from old pain, from what someone said, from a failure you haven't let go of. You can feel them without feeding them. You can acknowledge them without accepting them. That's control. That's mental leadership. That's what puts you back in charge of your direction. And when you take charge, you don't just feel better. You start doing better. You follow through more. You stop overthinking every step. You become more decisive, more disciplined, more durable. People notice. They see you showing up differently. And most importantly, you start seeing yourself differently. Not as someone trying to get strong, but as someone who already is, and now protects that strength daily. This is not about ego. It's about responsibility. You are responsible for what you let stay in your mind. You are responsible for what thoughts you repeat, what stories you tell, what truths you stand on. You are not a machine that just absorbs and reacts. You are a human being with the power to direct your own thinking. And the moment you accept that fully, everything changes. Don't wait for a perfect moment to reclaim your mind. Do it now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of stress, when the thoughts feel loud, when you feel tired. That's the best time. Because if you can push back then, you can push back anytime. And if you do it once, you can do it again. That's how the new pattern begins. That's how power starts returning to your decisions, to your actions, to your sense of who you are. Reject every thought that makes you feel powerless. Not later, not next time. Right now, train yourself to recognize weakness for what it is, temporary. It's not your identity. It's not your destiny. It's just a moment. And the moment you see it that way, you stop being scared of it. You stop avoiding it. You rise above it. You keep your mind clear, focused, and strong. That's how you lead yourself. That's how you build a mindset that doesn't break when life gets hard. Not by avoiding negative thoughts, but by rejecting the ones that don't deserve a seat at your table and replacing them with decisions that move your life forward every single day, without excuse, without apology, just real mental strength, earned one thought at a time. Number 10, control your thinking like you control your breathing, with intention, with awareness, with presence. Your breath is always with you, and so is your mind. But just like you can slow your breath, steady it, guide it, you can do the same with your thoughts. You don't have to let your mind wander without control. You don't have to follow every thought that shows up. You don't have to accept every idea that enters. You have the power to slow your thinking, sharpen it, and redirect it. But most people never take the time to learn how. They treat their thoughts like automatic facts, as if what shows up is what must be. But just because a thought enters doesn't mean it deserves to stay. Not every thought serves you. Not every idea helps you. Some thoughts distract you, break your rhythm, damage your focus, and rob your energy. And if you don't pause and notice what your mind is doing, you start reacting. You start drifting. You move through your day on autopilot, awake, but not aware. Your thinking should be something you take charge of, not something that drags you around. The same way you can take a deep breath and bring your body into calm. You can take control of your thoughts and bring your mind into clarity. You do it by slowing down, by noticing, by choosing. You ask yourself, is this what I want to be thinking right now? That simple question can stop a mental spiral before it builds. That question pulls you out of noise and back into focus. The truth is, your mind can be trained, but only if you treat it like something worth training. If you treat it like a wild animal, it'll run wild. If you treat it like a tool, it'll become useful. You don't have to eliminate every negative thought. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop letting those thoughts dominate your decisions. The goal is to build a filter so strong that your mind starts to respect your standards. Breathing is the perfect example. You don't think about it all day, but when it matters, when you're tired, when you're nervous, when you're trying to stay calm, you take control of it. You breathe in deep. You hold it. You let it go slowly, and your body follows. You lead your breath. That's how you need to treat your thinking. Don't wait until your thoughts spiral out of control. Take the lead. Guide your attention. Decide where your energy goes. There will always be distractions, always triggers, always pressure. You can't control the world, but you can control what you do with what shows up in your mind. That is your responsibility. That's not something you leave to chance. You wake up and decide what kind of thinking you allow today. You keep your thoughts in check, the way you keep your schedule in check. Not everything gets in. Not everything deserves your time. Not every idea belongs in your head. It's not about suppressing your thoughts. It's about managing them, catching them early, catching them before they spiral, catching them before they shape your behavior, and then asking yourself, is this useful? Does this line up with the life I'm building? Does this keep me strong? If the answer is no, you drop it. You replace it. You shift. You don't let a thought control your emotions just because it felt real in the moment. This takes practice, but it's worth it. Because once you build that control, you stop wasting time on things that never move you forward. You stop losing hours in frustration. You stop letting fear direct your choices. You live with a kind of mental freedom most people never experience, not because life is perfect, but because your mind is trained to handle it. You also have to understand that your thoughts are habits. If you think anxious, negative, scattered thoughts all day, it's not just because you're stressed. It's because your brain has been conditioned to think that way. But just like you can retrain your breath with practice, you can retrain your thoughts. You can teach your mind what's allowed and what's not. You do that by repetition, by showing up every day and saying, I don't think like that anymore. I don't live by that idea. I choose better. Sometimes it feels like your thoughts are too fast, too strong, too loud. But no matter how fast they move, you can slow them down. You can step back. You can pause and say, hold on, that thought doesn't belong here. That pause, just like the pause between breaths. That's where control begins. That's where strength is built. Not in silence, but in the decision to speak back to your mind and take control. There's nothing wrong with having random thoughts. What matters is what you do next. Do you chase them? Do you feed them? Or do you lead them? You lead by directing your focus. You lead by choosing the next thought. You lead by not reacting to every mental noise that shows up uninvited. That is the difference between being mentally tired all the time and being mentally powerful. Every day you get the chance to sharpen this. You get the chance to think on purpose, to breathe through the chaos, to center yourself in clarity. This isn't about being emotionally numb. It's about being mentally awake. It's about staying rooted in who you are when life tries to shake you. It's about having the awareness to say, this is not where I want my mind to be today, and then doing something about it. That's leadership. That's personal strength. And that's something you build in quiet moments, in small choices, in how you handle yourself when nobody's watching. It's in the way you talk to yourself first thing in the morning. It's in the way you refocus when things go sideways. It's in the way you protect your mental space as if it actually matters, because it does. You don't have to control everything to feel strong. You just need to control your thinking. You just need to remember that your mind is not your master. It's a tool, and the more you guide it, the more it works for you, instead of against you. The more you bring it back when it wanders. The more you stay alert when it drifts into negativity. The more you own your thoughts, the same way you own your actions. That's how you change the direction of your life. Not with one big breakthrough, but with thousands of mental adjustments, made on purpose, day after day. So treat your thinking the way you treat your breathing. When it gets shallow, you slow it down. When it gets erratic, you bring it back. When it loses rhythm, you take control. That's not motivation. That's self-leadership. That's what makes you solid under pressure. Not perfect, but present. Not fearless, but focused. You're not your thoughts. You're the one who chooses which ones matter. And when you live like that, one clear conscious thought at a time, you stop surviving and start leading your life forward with real power. If you've made it this far, you've already done what most people don't. You've faced your own mind, and that's where real change begins. But don't stop here. Knowing how to control your mind is one thing. Practicing it every day, that's what transforms your life. Every time a weak thought shows up, you now know how to respond. Every time you feel scattered, you know how to pull your focus back. You're not a prisoner of your thoughts anymore. You're the one in charge. The goal isn't to have a perfect mind. The goal is to have a disciplined one. A mind that follows your lead. A mind that works for you, not against you. And the more you practice this, the more powerful you become. Not just in how you think, but in how you live. So remember this: control your mind, and you control your future. That's the real win. If this video helped you see your mindset differently, there's more coming. Hit subscribe, stay sharp, and come back. Because this is just the beginning of building the strongest version of you.